technically wrong. We're not exactly sure what it is right now. But welcome to Brahma Kumari's Miami.org. And again, I'm thrilled to be here because I have something to share, as many other Brahma Kumari students and teachers want to share with you. And it has to do with the things that we've learned over many years. Some of us, actually, there are some who recently have learned, but we want to share it with you because we think that it can really improve your life when it comes to spirituality and meditation and just making things easier during these difficult times. Tonight's topic that I would like to deal with or focus on has to do with contentment. In fact, it's called Cultivating Contentment. And, you might be thinking, contentment, how can anyone be content right now at this time in the world? Can you really be content when just there's chaos around us and uncertainty and worrying? And I wondered too, but when I began to meditate on it more, because I've always loved this idea of contentment, I came to the idea that we need to be content no matter what. And that's, again, one of the principles of Brahma Kumari's teachings, is that we can be happy, we can be content no matter what is going on. In fact, our spiritual leader that just passed away, many of you might have heard about, Daddy Janki, she had a book out years ago called Feeling Great No Matter What. So it's that no matter what that we try to focus on. No, it's really the feeling great, but the no matter what is that there's always something, and this is, of course, bigger than anything we could ever imagine happening in our life. But we're being tested now that we can work to be content, and contentment is actually connected to happiness. And really, often people want to be happy and they focus on being happy, and they think that if they get certain things in their life, they'll be happy. We all do that, right? But in order to get to that point, there has to be contentment, because without contentment, you really can't get to happiness. So I feel that's why I really wanted to think about and let us reflect together on this idea of being able to be content. And I wanted to read to you what Daddy Janki has her own ideas about contentment, some of the things that she said, just a couple of statements that she has said, some of her quotes. Contentment brings happiness, health, and spiritual wealth. And those who are content bestow blessings on each other. And one more from Daddy Janki is contentment is a necessary element in the foundation of happiness. And so the way I see it, I feel it's really a big step, on the path toward happiness. And again, you might even be thinking right now, how do we be happy? How do we remain happy? I mean, we might have happy moments, but happiness and contentment, they all depend upon stability. At this time, the thing that's going to keep us going and really help us get out of this mess is stability. Being stable, not reacting and getting upset and going into, as some of my friends have told me, that they know people or they themselves are feeling terribly depressed about everything that's happening in the world. And I mean, it's understandable. We all feel, we can't just be like nothing, like that we're just so detached. But that word detachment is very important in the Brahma Kumari's dictionary, spiritual dictionary, because detachment has to do with being able to observe a situation, being able to observe life and not be affected by it, especially when when it's something that's negative or something that's frightening or worrisome, because when you can observe it and see it and look at it from afar, almost like you're looking at it, then that's the way you can help, and look at these amazing nurses and doctors and healthcare workers. If they get too caught up in everything that's happening, and they get really, if they start to fall apart, and of course we've seen some of them have, but mostly, they've been trained to be stable, to be able to detach from a situation so they can know what they should do about the situation. So for us, detachment is a biggie. It's really a big word. And along with detachment comes the word freeing ourselves from desires, always wanting something, we want this, we want that, if I could only have this. And I think that this has just been the way of life, maybe not in all countries, but certainly in the West. One more thing is going to bring us happiness. One more thing. It's whether it's success or whether it's more money or whether it's even health. We all want health, but if you have such desires for health and you're struggling, that can be, destabilizing as well. And I'm thinking back of my own life and going back, kind of rewinding. And I'm thinking about in my earlier years, especially before I came to these teachings, I had desires, I wanted more success. I wanted, the work I was doing to be seen, to be recognized. I wanted people to respect my work. I think that's a big thing. When you're young and you're starting out and you're, a young journalist, you want respect. There was always a desire. And I always found that the more that I desired things, it's like the more that they eluded me and they didn't necessarily come. And when I came to Russia, when I started to study and learn that desires wanting things, not that you can't have aims, and I think they should be more elevated aims now, after a long time of studying. These are things that I've begun to learn and absorb, and yet we all can take steps backwards too. But what I've come to realize is that these limited desires just don't get you anywhere. They suck you in and you're never happy. It's, like I heard Sister Genti being interviewed by an amazing rabbi, Gottman, I think, on YouTube and on Facebook. And Sister Genti is one of our leading spiritual teachers of the Brahma Kumaris, and he is and they were in England, and they were talking about desires, and she was talking about how a person wants a pair of shoes, and then they go into their closet and they get that pair of shoes, that desire. They had to have a new pair of shoes, and then they realize they've got a closet full of shoes. I don't know about the men, but I mean, I think that, and again, I don't want to judge men versus women or anything, but I think that's kind of something women have probably been more conditioned to, though that's changed. My late husband, he had quite a few shoes as well. So, but, I mean, it's just beginning to be aware of these desires that we have and say, well, do I really need this? Now is the time for simplicity. And I think that's a big part of being content now, because if we continue to want the things that we had, it might not be shoes now, it might not be tickets to a show, the newest show. It's the desire could be for some special food, some fancy foods that we can't get. And I know myself, I ordered and I got some food from on Instacart, and some foods didn't arrive that I wanted. They weren't there. And I was a little bit disappointed. And then I went, you know what? I can make do. I can be content and be happy, and whatever I have, I can eat and I'll be fine. So begin to be aware of when you want something that you really don't need, when because what happens is our mind starts going and we start wanting something. And I noticed that the more we want, in a way it accelerates and it intensifies and it gets bigger and bigger. It's like, I won't be happy till I have that. I won't be happy till I have that piece of chocolate cake after dinner. And yet there is no chocolate cake. So now what, So desires are something that, again, I mean, I want to say it's not something, maybe we can't give up everything, but right now I think, so many, and all of us in different ways, are being forced to give up what we know. I mean, for someone, they can't be happy now or content, let's say, because they can't get to the gym anymore. So a lot of it now is requiring resourcefulness to be content, and maybe not even to want to do anything, to just be able to sit and enjoy ourselves, and be able to just sit quietly and enjoy. Maybe if you have a window where you can look out and see a tree, or someone actually showed me the outside of, New York from their apartment last night. And there was like nothing on the street. And I thought, I mean, that's difficult. So often things that we depend upon, maybe a beautiful view or a beautiful tree or anything, it's not there anymore for us to enjoy. So we have to really kind of look at our lives and say, can I just be content no matter what? Can I see myself as content, as a feeling of well-being, where everything is good, no matter what? No matter what's happening, I can be okay. And I can see the possibilities. And I can see that things will happen in their own time. Everything will work out. Not to be afraid. Right now, as I sit here just meditating, to focus on not worrying about anything. Just let me release anything that I'm worrying about or upset about or fearful of. Or just forget the future. Just don't worry about the future. Let me just focus right now on I, the soul, on the light within, the beautiful, beautiful, radiant, bright light, and feel the peace. Not just talk about peace, but let me feel what it's like to be a peaceful soul and to be able to be at peace and in harmony with myself, where there's no struggle, where there's no difficulty, where everything is working out for my benefit. Let me just focus right now again on I, the soul, and be peaceful and be loving, loving to myself. Sometimes I forget I'm thinking about loving others, my family, my friends, my coworkers, but let me just love myself and just feel the love within. Love is a feeling. It's not, again, a word. It's a feeling where I can just send out this vibration of beautiful love. And it doesn't even have to be to one person. It can be to all, to just be spreading love, spreading vibrations of love when I'm walking, when I'm meditating, excuse me, when I'm just communicating with people non-verbally, verbally, and feel that experience of goodness, of happiness. I can be content no matter what's happening. Let me see myself as in India, there is the goddess of contentment, or they think of a goddess, but not necessarily a real goddess, but the idea of a being that embodies contentment, and actually the goddess that they call the goddess Santosh. And let me see myself as a goddess of contentment, just being content, being happy that whatever is happening to me has benefit. Everything has benefit. And I don't always see it right away, not right now, maybe not yet, but to embrace this feeling of benefit, benefit for myself, benefit for all, a feeling of just service and connection to everybody. And there are so many lessons to learn now. This is a time for learning a different way, not necessarily learning the way I'm used to learning more about my work or learning more about life or travels. This is about a time for learning about myself, beginning to understand myself, beginning to observe myself, giving myself that time. And that time requires quiet, that time requires reflection, and it requires going within and feeling, thinking, but not thinking too much, just experiencing. As the philosopher, spiritual teacher, author Ram Dass always said, be here now. So what does that mean? What does that mean? It means don't be thinking about yesterday. Don't be dwelling on why things are happening in the world and what happened and who did this and who did that. Don't be thinking about worrying about the future, what could happen, what's going to happen. Just be living in the now. And that's all we have, isn't it? Truly. That's all we really, really have is the now, right now, 1 second at a time. And to be truly content, that's what we have to do. We have to just be here now and enjoy. Forget the worries, forget the what if, what didn't happen, what could happen. Just, again, it's just to live, to be present and to accept I always see it as ending the struggle. I think sometimes our lives are about struggling, not just with others, but that can be part of it. Struggling with ourselves, with our thoughts, and why this, why that, what should I do? I don't think we have to really worry about anything. I think that if we are here now and we are truly content, then whatever we need is going to come to us. We can have a thought, well, this maybe would be good, but when things are right and when things are meant to happen, they just truly happen. I mean, they just, take a look at your life and think of things, maybe really special things that happen in your life. And didn't they just happen? I mean, did you force them? Did you control them? I always see that they just magically appear in your life. So the only thing that we, to me, can control is we can control our thoughts and create positive, healthy thoughts. Healthy thoughts are thoughts of well-being, thoughts of just saying, I'm okay. Everything is good. Everything is as it should be. And taking some time out every day to be in silence, to be at peace, turn off the television. You don't need to know what's going on every second. Turn off even sometimes music. Music can be good, but if it's just going on all the time, music or, talking to people, I know that a lot of people now have turned to the telephone, aside from social media and the internet, just talking to each other. And I know I'm doing more of that. And that's partly, I think, why I have this cough, just because I, been talking too much on the phone. And I think that's nice to be able to I'm connected with people that I haven't connected with in years, which is a beautiful thing that's happening now. It's a special thing. But I think we have to be able to be in control of our time and to limit what it is we're doing and not just get so caught up in one thing. Now is the time to really grow. Now, I think we're being given the opportunity now to grow inside and to get stable, to get strong, to get more peaceful. And this is a very special time. It's a tough time, but it's very special and it requires some effort, some daily effort, but it doesn't require struggling with the effort. A lot of us do have the time now, and even if we don't have the time, even if people are still working and doing things, there's always some time to sit and reflect and appreciate what it is we have, where we're going. And I mean that more spiritually than I do, physically, or, in terms of things that we want, as I was saying earlier, and to adjust the power, just to begin to develop the power to adjust. This isn't working. Okay, what can I do? What can I do? What possibilities are there? And it's amazing how many possibilities there are when you're clear, when you get clarity, and when you're fearless. So, these aren't just words that I'm, using or that we're talking about. These are important concepts to develop and to learn so that, you really can create a good life. And I feel that even now, at this point in the world, in whatever's happening, can still be of benefit, and we can learn and we can grow and we can be okay no matter what. So I thank you for listening and for being here now. And I'd like to just say goodbye. And if you want to know what's coming up, the coming weeks on our YouTube, it's the Brahma Kumaris Miami YouTube. Go to brahmakumarismiami.org at the website, and you can see all the events that are happening, and you can subscribe so you can just get the events by email. So again, thank you, and Om Shanti.